All right, we're on. I think I was on a little bit earlier, but I don't think it was working too well for me. I'm feeling great. I just got out of the Bay. I'm in San Francisco. I'm on my way to Santa Clara. I'll be there in time for the first round of the draft. 49ers, as of right now, at least don't have a pick. We don't expect them to have a pick today. Something crazy would have to happen. They probably would have to trade away a player. There have been Trey Lance rumors, mainly ones started by the internet. I mean, I think a lot of people take little bits of common sense and then try to ascribe more meaning or more happenings to them than actually exist. In the case of Trey Lance, well, the 49ers have a lot of quarterbacks. Trey might be the third out of three on the pecking order right now. And what's the case? Well, that means that he might be somebody that the 49ers would be interested in moving, or at least interested in listening to offers. The problem is those offers are very likely not going to be lucrative enough for the 49ers to seriously consider. So how's everybody doing? It's a beautiful day here in the Bay Area. It is 77 degrees according to my thermometer in the car, and this is in the city. This is on the Golden Gate side of the city. It might have been sitting in the sun here for a bit, so that might have been that might be a little bit of an inflated temperature, but I'm sure it'll be 77 in Santa Clara. Conditions like these, it's always going to be warmer in Santa Clara than it is here in San Francisco. Hopefully traffic's not too bad. Want to be there a little bit earlier if this were 2 years ago, 2 years after Trey Lance drama. I think that part of it was in the headline of this piece. 2 years ago, the San Francisco 49ers on this day, everybody was wondering who they were going to pick at number 3 leading up to this moment. They ended up picking Trey Lance. Now people are talking about Trey Lance for different reasons 2 years later, but the 49ers don't even have a first round pick this time around. So Mike is going to put some questions up on the screen because I'm hands-free for this one. I'm driving safely. I'm just talking as if you're my friend sitting next to me in the passenger seat. Okay, this is Danny G put up on Twitter. Danny G, good guy on Twitter. Josina Anderson today reported that there's nothing substantive behind any Trey Lance trade discussions. And I'm like, wait, what? Didn't John Lynch just say that on Monday? So people, they love to take these reports and run with them at face value, but they also like to call John Lynch a liar, or they say, oh, I don't believe what John Lynch said. Well, what Josina Anderson reported today was exactly what John Lynch said on Monday, just 4 days later. So you have a lot of people sweating it, a lot of people not really sure what to do. They're faced with a dilemma. Press the Lynch's lying button or believe a media report. I just thought that was funny. Danny put that up on Twitter not that long ago. So this is the Draft Countdown Show. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Toss your questions in there. Toss your predictions for the 49ers draft. You can do whatever you want in that comment section as long as you keep it civil. Been a lot of driving for me today. First from Sacramento here to San Francisco. And now from San Francisco down to Santa Clara. Any chance the 49ers trade into the first round? That's what I opened up with. It would have to include a player. The other day I went through the 49ers pick value chart, and the pick value chart was clear in suggesting that the 49ers don't have enough draft capital this year, even though they have 11 picks to trade up into the first round with just the picks. They would have to trade other assets, and that could be future picks or that could be current players. And I guess that's one of the reasons why both Trey Lance and Brandon Ayuk have been at the center of some of these rumors. That being said, we have to pay attention to what the 49ers actually think about this draft class. And they've been on the record and they've been clear saying they don't think it's very top heavy. They think that this is a year where not having a first-round pick isn't that big of a deal. They don't even have a second-round pick this year. But if they think that this draft class is deep, maybe picking in rounds 3 through 7 is ideal, and that's exactly where the 49ers' 11 picks are concentrated. Remember, Fred Warner was a third-rounder. George Kittle was a fifth-rounder. Brock Purdy was a seventh-rounder. The 49ers have made hay in the middle rounds, and that is where their picks are located. If you're talking about trading up to the first round, that becomes expensive. I don't care what draft you're in, even if it is a less top-heavy one, even if it is a balanced one. And is it really worth it to trade up into the first round when you've had so much success in the middle rounds? And then again, you go back to the fact that this is a deeper draft. Also, it is more expensive to pay players in the first and second round since the draft is slotted by pick on the rookie wage scale. So the first pick of the first round is the most expensive contract. The second pick is the second most expensive, so on and so forth. For a team with limited cap space, they can fit rounds 3 to 7, the picks in that area, a lot more easily under their salary cap than they can a first-round draft pick. One reason why it's unlikely that the 49ers trade Trey Lance right now is because it would actually cost them more money than to keep him because his contract is so damn valuable because he's the number 3 overall pick. So the 49ers have about $2 million in cap space. They need to save money at every possible juncture to make this as sustainable as possible. And one way that they're saving money, to be honest, is that they don't have first or second round draft picks because those are pricier than third to seventh round draft picks. It is all part of a larger puzzle. And we need to study all of the clues to understand what the 49ers are most likely to do. Thoughts on Lamar's deal? What are the parameters of Lamar's deal? I've been driving around today. I haven't really had a chance to sit down. You saw the video from Treasure Island. I know it's 5 years. I know that they finally got something worked out. What's the average per year on Lamar Jackson's deal? Mike, if we have that information, if you could put that up on the screen, that'd be good. We always figured they'd somehow get it done because we figured that the Ravens placing the exclusive rights or the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson was them essentially calling Lamar Jackson's bluff, right? So Ravens call Lamar Jackson's bluff. Lamar Jackson agrees to a deal with him. 5 years, $255 million. Ooh, nice. So that's what? $51 million per year. That's right at near the top of the market. At or near the top of the market. Wasn't there just a $51 million deal signed not too long ago? I think there's 3 $50 million QBs now. $185 million guaranteed. Hell yeah, I think that's fair for Lamar Jackson. They paid a lot for a guy that hasn't finished a season healthy here in a few years, who obviously has had some issues in the playoffs, but he's a former MVP, electrifying talent. It's something that I think had to get done, but, I could see why the Ravens didn't want to completely break the bank with something that, even exceeded Deshaun Watson's guaranteed money in a situation, which was north of $200 million, right? So, at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson has generational money now, life-changing money for generations. That's what he deserves. I mean, he is an MVP. And the Ravens probably found a way to fit that into their salary cap situation. Maybe we see another triple option bonus like we saw with Jalen Hurts the other day on his $50+ million deal. Randy Daytona says he can't wait to see if the 49ers pick today. Anytime I'm at a red light, I can actually look down and see some of these comments. Yes, I'm on Van Ness. I'm by the Wells Fargo on Van Ness. It's going to get crazy. People are going to know where I'm at all of a sudden. You can see where I'm driving through. I guess I do the same thing when I'm walking down the sidewalk. You can see where I'm at. Sometimes I'll do those live as well. Nice little crowd here. People getting ready for the draft. We will see if the 49ers surprise everybody. Ended up picking today. Eric Gomes knows his San Francisco, that's for sure. Right after this Wells Fargo, you're probably going to see a Holiday Inn. There's a little bit of traffic on Van Ness, not terrible. Mike, make that window skinnier, and then it will take up more of the screen when you do those articles. The athletic articles are funny that way. you make the windows skinnier than it should, there you go. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at Mike doing the work behind the scenes. The 49ers 2023 NFL Draft Guide. That's from me and Matt Barrows. It is up on The Athletic. We've got a lot of work up on The Athletic that you can check out. That's probably the overarching general piece. Obviously, I interviewed John Lynch at the owners' meetings about a month ago about how the 49ers have played the comp pick process. You know, the 49ers have already made 2 picks in this draft. They picked Trey Lance and they picked Christian McCaffrey. Their first round pick in this draft is no longer with them. It went to Miami, and I think it's traded hands since then. But their first round pick in this draft went to Trey Lance. First, they traded up, then they picked Trey Lance, and they had to use this year's first round pick to trade up in 2021. And then they picked Christian McCaffrey, or they traded for Christian McCaffrey at a price of a second rounder, a third rounder, a fourth rounder, and a fifth rounder. So the 2, the 3, and the 4 from this season all went to Carolina for Christian McCaffrey. 49ers feel like a team that went from bereft of talent under Balky to not having room with all the talent on the team. What position, not including quarterback, would San Francisco fit a first-round star? At what position would they fit a first-rounder? Well, I mean, you could always find a spot for a first-rounder on the defensive line. You could always find a spot for a first-rounder at offensive tackle, right? Especially at that right tackle position that the 49ers are trying to fill. You can always find a spot for a first-rounder at cornerback, safety. I mean, first-round picks are first-round picks, especially if you pick a good first-round pick. So, I mean, the roster should never be viewed as a finished product. An NFL roster, and this is how the 49ers view it, and they're doing so correctly, should always be viewed as something where you're trying to layer, you're trying to add on to it with every draft. That's a lot of people don't understand best player available. Like, oh, don't they already have this position figured out? You never have a position figured out in the NFL. You always have to be thinking about, what if this guy goes down? What if this career doesn't last a long time? Because these careers don't last a long time in the NFL. Or how can we just get better? Even if this guy does continue playing and playing at a high level, how can we make sure that we insulate the position group with options and with depth? So the 49ers can benefit from a first-round pick anywhere, but they don't have a first-round pick, and then it becomes a question of, well, how much would it cost to acquire a first-round pick, and is it worth it? There's opportunity cost to everything. Will we see Wilkes put his print on the defense this weekend? Well, I'm sure that, one of the things the 49ers do really well is that the coaching staff, there's a good interplay between the coaching staff and the scouting department. So the coaching staff watches film on prospects. They let the scouting department know exactly what they want, what they need to run their scheme. So if all goes well, then yes, Steve Wilkes is going to put some fingerprints on the 49ers defense this weekend. Because in a building where the coaching staff and the scouting department gets along, you maximize your chances of building an effective winning roster. That was a big problem as the Harbaugh-Balky era dragged along, right? Jim Harbaugh didn't get along with Trent Baalke, and that meant that the coaching staff wasn't getting along with the personnel department. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch really get along, and by extension, that means that somebody like Steve Wilkes and the scouting department really get along. I haven't heard anything about Wilkes specifically, but it's definitely something that I think can be assumed. Eric Gomes, he's on that sub train. Everybody sub, like. Don't tell anybody about the spy cam that I planted in the 49ers war room. We got to figure out if the lights are even on in there tonight. I think they're going to sit around because you never know. You never know when somebody calls up. They get crazy on draft night. They say, hey, here are 2 first-round picks. We want Trey Lance. Well, in that case, 49ers probably pick the phone up and, either call back or already done with the trade before the call is even made, if that's the offer. So, I mean, nobody's saying that's likely. It's probably damn near impossible, but you have to be ready for any circumstance. And there's the whole Brandon Ayuk thing, too. Everybody has a price except for Nick Bosa, who's untouchable. Will the 49ers miss Mike McGlinchey this season? That's up to Colton McKivitz first and foremost, and then it's also I'm withholding judgment until we find out how the 49ers are going to fill out the rest of their roster in this NFL draft, because they still have 22 spots left to fill. And, that's 68 out of 90 spots are currently filled on the 49ers roster. So, a lot of people want to judge something after free agency. That just isn't smart, because the overarching plan of an offseason is executed through two primary pillars. One is free agency, and the other is the NFL draft. And then obviously there are going to be more minor fill-ins that you do with smaller tier free agency, last minute signings, all that kind of stuff. But the draft is one of the two big pillars. And I can't tell you exactly what the 49ers plan along the offensive line is going to be until this weekend comes and goes. And even then, stuff is going to be fluid. But as far as missing McGlinchey, well, right now it seems that right tackle is in the hands of Colton McKivitz, but nobody's playing a game before the NFL draft actually happens. I think Brandon Ayuk was really good last year. He took a good step toward being considered an A-lister in the 49ers' long-term plans. 1,000-yard receiving season, man-beating X-wide receiver, generates more separation than anybody. Sneaky separator on the 49ers roster as far as the receiving core goes is Jawan Jennings. He can separate as well, but Brandon Ayuk makes defensive backs look foolish. And he's gotten more physical. He came in with a really wiry frame. That wiry frame, there's some good muscle on that frame now for Brandon Ayuk. He's a stud. And if he can replicate what he did in 2022 and 2023 now, show some year-to-year consistency, he's not going to be an easily replaceable player, and I think he's going to be part of that 49ers A-list core. I expect the 49ers to draft all of the positions this weekend. They're going to go through it all. Definitely tight end. They might even double dip at tight end. But they're going to go best player available. With 11 picks, you end up hitting a lot of positions, even if you are going best player available. I think Sam Darnold has a lot of potential. It's an exciting signing for the 49ers. You look at Sam Darnold, and you see a quarterback who has the physical skill set to be a star. Let's be honest. I saw that touchdown to Braxton Berrios in 2020 against the 49ers at MetDeath Stadium. That's when everybody got hurt at that game. That was an awesome piece of work. He's done some really, really impressive stuff physically over his time, but he's also thrown a lot of interceptions. And the question is Kyle Shanahan going to be able to really squeeze the excessive turnovers out of Sam Darnold? And maybe he doesn't have to. Maybe we already saw Sam Darnold playing good, clean football sustainably over the final 6 games of last season. Those were really impressive. He was a top 5 efficiency guy for Carolina last year. That definitely appealed to the 49ers. Now we get to find out if now we get to find out if what happened over those final 6 last year translates into a longer stretch. And, also we have to find out if Sam Darnold's going to get that opportunity. He's going to have to win a competition for that to happen, either against Trey Lance or Brock Purdy or both. But they have options. At worst, serviceable backup. At best, could be a starter. Who knows? 49ers trade anyone, who will it be? Well, the two bigger names are Trey Lance and Brandon Ayuk, but they could end up trading a smaller name. It's just not worth predicting, because it could be somebody moderately surprising, but also okay, who cares that much, right? Out of names that really resonate with people, take a look at Trey Lance and Brandon Ayuk, but probably not during this NFL draft. With Trey Lance, again, it'd be more expensive to trade him than it would be to keep him at this point against the cap, just because of the guaranteed money that's already been paid out to him as the 2021 number 3 overall pick. Do I think there'll be any trade ups? No, I don't think so. I think it's possible, but I don't think so. I covered this really extensively in a lot of videos and a lot of articles. I think that they wanted to trade up last year but couldn't. This year they'll probably tempt it again, but they have less ammo, and the draft is just deeper this year than it was last year. So they're probably better staying put, staying back, keeping the draft as cost effective as possible, staying in a lower pay slot, and just giving yourself more chances of a hit. Like I said, it's a lot easier to go 4 for 11 than it is to go 4 for 4. If you trade up, you start having to go 4 for 6, 4 for 7 instead of 4 for 11. And I think that the 49ers would rather, with how good their scouting department is, give those guys as many opportunities as possible. The trade-up article that I wrote, there's the link. And it's up on the screen right there. Could GM John Lynch trade up in the NFL draft? Studying the cost. There's John. Go check that up on go check that out up on Athletic. I believe we're at $2 a month right now. It might even be $1 a month sale. This is all stuff worth reading. I mean, I have a full point breakdown charts for draft pick value. It's all good information for you to give you an idea of what it might take for the 49ers in this NFL draft. If Darnold starts and succeeds, can you see them re-signing him to a long-term deal? Yeah, any quarterback who starts and succeeds can get re-signed to a long-term deal. It's the most important position. You want a winner. You want an efficient QB. If somebody's given that to you, you think about keeping him around. 100%. Would be expensive. I mean, but this is a year-to-year thing. We can't get stuck in the weeds right now. Thanks, Josh. It's a nice little comment from Josh. The article's very good. Tells you that look at the value of the picks. Hopefully I can take you inside the 49ers thought process. That's really my goal. A lot of traffic on Van Ness. How worried should the 49ers be about the Seahawks? You should pay close attention to today should be more about paying attention to the Seahawks, to the Eagles, to the Detroit Lions, teams with 2 picks each in the first round. Those teams can get a lot better today if they do well. A lot of people are worried about Bijan Robinson going to the Eagles. They think him at that mesh point with Jalen Hurts could be deadly. They're probably right. Could be really dangerous. The Eagles have gotten worse so far this offseason, but they have the draft capital to replenish that and get a little bit better. Mike, can you take the Lynch off the screen? I'm going to be there you go. I'm going to be driving by San Francisco City Hall right now, and I think the camera's at a really good angle for everybody to see it. So just give it a couple seconds. The traffic here is really slow today. I'm just targeting the get to Levi's here right at draft time, right at 5 o'clock. Eagles already have an early, so the Eagles have the 10 overall and the 30, the 10 and the 30. The Seahawks have the 5 and the 20, and the Lions have the 6 and the 18. All of those teams can make some noise today. All of those teams can do something that closes the gap between their roster and the 49ers roster in the NFC, because I think the 49ers clearly have the best roster in the NFC as we speak. I think it became very clear ever since Javon Hargrave went from Philadelphia to the 49ers. All right, there's a big van. I'm letting him pass me. You can see San Francisco City Hall. In a second, you'll be able to see the big dome. But, I mean, it's a magnificent building. It used to be the state capital of California. Speaking of Sacramento, I just came from there. Saw that Warriors-Kings game yesterday. There's actually gold at the top of the rotunda of San Francisco City Hall. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see the rotunda right now. I should do a show from inside. But the rotunda is taller than the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. You kind of see it there. Can't really see the very top of it, but maybe as we inch forward a little bit further, we'll be able to see it. The video from Treasure Island was fun to do today. Yerba Buena and Treasure Island, they're redeveloping that whole island. It's going to be nice. Yeah, the 10 and the 30, the Eagles have themselves nicely set up. They had a salary dump a bit this offseason. Obviously, they're not paying Darius Slay as much as they were expected to. Looked like they were going to get rid of him altogether for a while. Javon Hargrave, they couldn't pay. But it always comes down to how well you draft. And the 49ers have gotten into a really solid position because they've drafted well in the middle rounds to the later rounds. And the Eagles also have drafted well, and they've signed the right guys to get into a spot. And, now the perpetuating that success for both of these teams is going to come down to how well both of these football teams can draft. And they're drafting in different spots. The 49ers are drafting lower on in the draft. The Eagles have 2 premium picks in that first round. This is really going to put the theory that John Lynch has to the test. Is this really a draft that's deeper than it is top heavy? If so, there's not as much of a gap between the value of the draft capital that the Eagles and the 49ers have. But if it is actually a top heavy draft, if John Lynch is wrong in his assessment, well, then the 49ers might have some issues as far as a firepower race with the Eagles goes. Which tight end do I like for this year's draft for the 49ers? I like Latu from Alabama, Schoonmaker from Michigan. I just don't know which tight ends are going to last until number 99. There's a lot of them. There is a lot of tight ends. So I could talk a lot about guys that I like, and I like 7 or 8 of them. But which one's going to be on the board when the 49ers do pick? Which ones are going to be on the board? So just wait and see, and we'll see what happens. Am I a Warrior fan? I enjoy watching the Warriors play. I'll tell you what, I lived in San Francisco throughout the entire Warriors dynasty, and it was special. It's going to be one of those things that you look back and, it's like Vince McMahon talking about Andre the Giant. He was special. You could say that about the Warriors. When we look back at this 20, 30 years from now, we'll say that this Warriors team was really special. I think we're even saying that right now. We're not even looking back yet. I mean, they are something else. I was at the game in Sacramento last night, and that place was so loud. The Kings were hot out of the gate. It felt like a tidal wave hit the Warriors when it was 6-0 earlier. A lot of teams, maybe most teams, would fold there in that situation, especially teams like the Warriors who have struggled on the road this year. But the Warriors, they're a championship team. They have that experience. They're built different. They hit another gear. They weathered the storm. They won Game 5, and now they're up 3-2. That was really something else last night. Seeing them suck the wind out of that crowd at Golden One Center, I was impressed. I'll say that. The Dubs team changed the game. They did. Eric Gomes says they did. It's interesting because they won their first title in 2015, and they're their only team doing what they were doing as effectively as they were doing, the three-point shooting and the Splash Brothers. Then the rest of the league had to work to catch up when they were light years ahead. Remember that? So the rest of the league did its best. And, that as far as stylistic play from the three-point line, the rest of the league did seem to catch up. Kind of like the 49ers. A lot of people are taking the Shanahan offensive principles and applying them. But, once the league did catch up, the Warriors had to counter-adapt. And I feel they have counter-adapted. The title last year was sensational in that regard. Yesterday's win was sensational in that regard. I mean, the Kings are playing a lot of the Warriors style from last decade, right? And when you look at the way that the Warriors won last night, they were slashing to the basket. It wasn't all three-pointers. The Kings were trying to take away what the Warriors do so well. And the Warriors showed up and started beating them in ways that I don't think that the 2015 Warriors would have won. Steph Curry back then was a lot skinnier. He's got a lot more muscle on his frame now. The climactic basket there at the very end when he's flexing his muscles, that's Steph Curry taking it to the cup. That's a player who's evolved over the years to meet the challenges that teams have brought. Who was better as a D-line coach, Tom Sula or Kasarik? I mean, God, it's hard to take Tom Sula seriously after the head coaching stint. I guess you're asking as a D-line coach. But Chris Kasarik, this 49ers D-line, they're at a completely different level with players who aren't, don't have a lot of notoriety. I think that's the That's the main thing to consider. This 49ers D-line has been able to, I mean, yes, they have Bosa. I get it. They have talent. They give talent to the Chris Kasarik to work with, but he's been able to turn guys who haven't done anything with other teams into big-time performers with the 49ers. So I would say Chris Kasarik. Could the 49ers go receiver their first pick? I mean, yes, they're not picking to the end of the third round. So there's not going to be a whole lot of specificity here. They're going to pick who they like the best player available. They're going to be trying to stock the roster. I think people often think of the roster as a finished product in certain spots. You should never think of a roster in the NFL as a finished product. You're always trying to refill. There's always a little bit of leakage coming out the bottom side of the sink. So you've got to make sure that you're always staying as strong as possible. That's why you go best player available. It's the whole dart throwing theory that I have given over the past several weeks leading up to this draft. Finally, made it to the freeway. What do I root for besides Stanford in sports? Well, I cover a lot of Stanford, so I can't really root for them much anymore. My days of caring too much about college football and stuff are over. Like I said, I've lived in the Bay Area through the Warriors dynasty. I take a lot of joy in watching them play. I like the Kings too, so that yesterday was fun just to see the Warriors and the Kings go at it. Two Northern California basketball teams. I like national level hockey, so I'll watch the Czech Republic play. I'm a dual citizen of the U.S. and the Czech Republic. I just root for good sports, to be honest. I don't really, I'm not looking at. I just appreciate the game or the games because there are many different sports. So I hope that answers your question. Such a beautiful day. Everybody's asking what position the 49ers pick, but to be honest, there's no way to know. I could throw a dart up against the wall, and depending on where it hits on the dartboard, that's going to be the position they pick. They don't even know right now. 99 is a long way away. No, I don't think that Lance is going to be traded tonight. A lot of people asked me that last night at the Kings game. I just had people coming up to me at the Kings game. Hey, they're going to trade Trey Lance this weekend. And I said, no, I don't think so. Frank Gore I don't know if he's helping scout, but I'll tell you this. Technically, maybe yes. He's been in draft meetings. He's been observing in draft meetings. Now, what Frank Gore has been doing is that he's been recommending Sam Darnold to Jed York. Frank Gore is a big Sam Darnold fan. And I think that he was one of the reasons why the 49ers signed Sam Darnold. He really, really gave his endorsement of his former teammate from 2020 with the New York Jets. I think it's cool. Any way that you keep Frank Gore involved, that's going to make the fan base happy. That's for sure. But Frank he's a football lifer. Great football mind. Nothing wrong with having him in that draft room. Maybe start to develop him for a career as an executive down the road. If the 49ers drafted a QB, would they carry 4? On the 90, they'd carry 4. I don't think they'd carry 4 on the 53. It's Floyd the Barber right here. I think that in the case of a quarterback, if you did draft one, you would use a later round draft pick, so you wouldn't be compelled to carry him on the 53-man roster, because if he's a later round pick, there's a lot better chance you could sneak him onto the practice squad without anybody poaching him. Higher pick, somebody's going to poach him, right? So then it becomes a little bit of an issue. I don't know if Frank Gore wants to coach or if he eventually wants to get into a front office. I really don't know. I don't think that Cameron Latu is the top tight end in the draft. I think that Sam Laporta out of Iowa, he's got real good athleticism. I just don't think that he would be available at number 99. I don't know, to be honest. I don't think anybody knows. Anybody trying to say that they know at this point? is, just making stuff up and hoping that it sticks. So that's why I'm excited to see what happens with this draft. Are the Jets going to win the AFC East with Aaron Rodgers and that roster? Well, I've always said that the Jets had a good defense last year. If they could just pair it with a QB, they could be in a good spot. But I mean, Buffalo is really good. Miami's in that division. It's crazy to say that New England's probably the worst team in that division now. It's a tough division to project a winner. But if Aaron Rodgers plays good football, that defense is good enough for the Jets to field a balanced team. If Aaron Rodgers is playing well, he's the best quarterback in the division, right? He's even better than Josh Allen if he's playing well. But he's older. We have seen some potential signs of decline. So we shall see with Aaron Rodgers and company, Robert Saleh, and the New York Jets. 101 or 280? What do you think? I say 280. Actually, I could use express lanes on 101, can't I? Yeah, we're going to use 101. We're going to go with the express lanes. We're going to make it down to Santa Clara a little bit faster. I think that's the way to go. Eric Gomes wants me to take 280. 280 is more scenic. But express lanes are fun. You pay a little bit for them, but whatever. They're all open now, which is nice. Anybody else have a vote for 101 or 280? Problem is that Levi's is like on the 101 side of stuff. You gotta let me know now, or forever hold your peace. We got to vote for 101 Express. Somebody wants me to go 282 101. I don't know, guys. 280 is going to be a smoother ride. We're going to do that. A lot of traffic coming back into the city. It's going to be 280. We can always cut back over. $280 to $85. Somebody knows their freeways in the Bay Area. Are any Harbaugh-era Niners currently involved with the 49ers? I think only Frank Gore. I guess Joe Staley's around, but he's more of a media member, right? Man, whoever told me 280, I did not escape the traffic. This is crazy. Do you anticipate the 49ers doing anything today? No, I don't. I really don't. I never say never, but I don't anticipate it. You're in Guam. The draft starts in about 40 minutes. I'm taking you up to the draft. I'll probably not that long, but. Will the Niners draft a kicker or do an undrafted kicker instead? I'm trying to figure out how much belief they have in Zane Gonzalez and where exactly they might be with Robbie Gould. We're going to go for, Mike's going to have to run here in a little bit, so we're only going to go for a few more minutes. Plus, that means I could make some phone calls before the draft. Joan and payroll. I remember that. I think so, yeah. Probably still with the 49ers. Biggest surprise move in the first round will be what? But from any team? I guess it would have to be any team because I don't think the 49ers are going to make a move at all. Geez, I don't know. That's why it's a surprise. How am I supposed to guess surprises? Silly. Do I think the Cardinals trade down? If they can. All GMs think they could trade down, and then they find out that it's harder to do once that clock starts ticking. I'm getting married on May 6th. You could type if you want to see the registry and stuff, you could go to, I think you just type in my name and Margot's name and wedding or something on Google. It's it's near my birthday. My birthday is on May 5th, and I get married on May 6th. Some people have been telling me it's a terrible idea. I think it's kind of cool. So I get married the day after my birthday, which falls on the rehearsal dinner. What do you think? Is it a good idea to get married the day after your birthday, or is it a bad idea? Am I a complete idiot for okaying this plan? So 280 is nice and scenic. You can see the hills of the outer neighborhoods of the city. All those houses up on the hills. Yeah, and I won't forget my wedding anniversary every year. That seems to be a problem with people, huh? Forgetting their wedding anniversary. I have no idea what's up with Robbie Gould, except for, well, I do have an idea. He doesn't want to kick in San Francisco, or he's saying that at least because maybe he wants to negotiate a better contract. All right, a couple more questions and we'll get going. Yep, hit that like button, hit the like button, hit the sub button. Thanks everybody for joining the show. This is the draft countdown show. I'm going to give you all a little bit of time to unwind before the draft. I don't want to run up all the way to 5 o'clock. I personally want to make a few phone calls. I want to chill here on my drive down. Not in a hurry because the 49ers don't have a pick in the first round. Engrave my anniversary on the inside of the ring, but I'm not supposed to take off my ring, right? It is free to hit that like button. So they can only afford to keep one big money receiver. They keep Debo or Ayuk. They don't have to make that decision right now. You can make that decision next year if you have to make it. But we don't even know if they're going to have them going up every year. Maybe both guys have big years, and maybe you want to keep both of them. You know, there's so many other puzzle pieces that are part of this decision. You don't have to cross that decision bridge right now. You can wait. You can wait. The 49ers would take a high second-round pick for Trey Lance. I mean, that's a significant return now. That's more than just a fourth-rounder or a fifth-rounder. Maybe. All I know is they want a significant haul, and I'm not sure how significant. And I think that price will come down over time. But right now, the 49ers are in a position where Trey Lance is valuable to them. Let's be honest. Trey Lance is valuable to the 49ers just because of the nature of what's happened at the quarterback position as of late. All right, let's wrap this up at 45 minutes. Everybody, thank you for watching. NFL Draft coming up. A lot of coverage for you will be on its way. So, like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out all the articles that Mike helped post here. You can sub to The Athletic as well. All would be appreciated. Everybody, peace out. We will see you very soon from Levi Stadium. Take care.